Nachi, have you ever gone to the Kotel?
I have.
Do you call it the Kotel or the Kotel?
Depends who I talk to.
Let's say you're talking to me.
Kotel.
Yeah?
Kaisel?
Who do you say Kotel to?
I don't know. It's just one of those random moments.
Well-
I think people should message meaningful people on Instagram. Just
Whether they say Kotel or
Kotel
we could do a poll.
That's such a curious. I imagine more people with a YU type upbringing say Kotel, and people.
Are you stereotyping?
It's not stereotyping.
No, I
it's
guess
just
it's
fact.
yeah,
It's just
I hear
facts.
that. I hear that. But regardless of whether you call it Kotel or Kotel, if you go there,
After we just began a family fight for you, yeah.
if you go there, there's someone you see. Could you describe him to me, Nach?
He's this nice little man,
Yes.
standing there by the Kaisel.
Oh, nice.
The Kaisel Maravi, standing there, and especially on a Friday night, he's arranging meals for hundreds, maybe thousands of people. People who are looking to connect with Yiddishkeit, looking to experience a Shabbos. People who are just looking for a meal.
So the name Jeff Seidel, like everyone knows that name, and yeah, like that's how everyone knows him. But there's a whole method of why he's doing it, and this whole very different approach to Kiriv that he has, and the love for Klal Yisrael.
And people will find out in this episode that what he does is not just, he doesn't have this affinity for giving people good meals. He has this attraction towards bringing people closer to Yiddishkeit, and this is his unique way of doing it.
So unique. He's a great example of someone that, Hashem gives everyone a mission to do something, and he's a boy from Chicago, and he says, you know what, I'm still me. I'm going to figure out how I can use my talents to help Klal Yisrael, and that's what he's doing. And
if you're not sure how to find him, just get down on the ground and look for these shoes that look like bowling shoes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's him.
That's
just
him.
go for it. Enjoy this episode, guys.
Welcome to the Meaningful People Podcast, the podcast where we talk to people who are
meaningful.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Story about your father-in-law, the Rebbe.
Oh, so I don't say it over properly, and I never heard it from him. I think I heard it from other people, but he would go every week and see the Rebbe, and he knew Yiddish fluently also because he's from Canada, that generation, so they talk in Yiddish, and he'd go and see him. So, years ago, it wasn't like today. We talk different generations. They wore a suit and tie and those little tie clips and little gigs there. And he went to see him. And he went looking in Brooklyn beforehand to buy a black hat to go see him. And apparently the Chabad students told me this even more, elaborated story than I knew, that he couldn't find one right away. He went here and there and there to one finally fit him and look good on him. So he goes to the Rebbe and says, "Okay, I'm here. Let's start our session. How do you like it?" Rebbe looks at him and says, "I don't like it. It's not you. You have to be who you are." And that's what God wants from us. He wants us, each one of us, to be the person who we are and to use our talents, our skills, the best we are. And not to be, I guess, envious or jealous or, look the other way at the other person, what he's doing. Because he's doing his mission in life and you're doing your mission in life and she's doing her mission in life. That's what the Bono Shalom wants from us.
That's
really
one way to
beautiful.
start a podcast.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
So we're here with Jeff Seidel. Thank you for joining us all the way from Eretz Yisrael.
Thank you.
You're here live with us, so thank you. And you're not originally from Eretz Yisrael. You're usually from Chicago.
Chicago, yeah.
Chicago.
I don't know how to do the accent. So
You just botched it.
Well, yeah.
You want to take another shot at it? Chicago.
Chicago.
And you're from, I'm just going to say regular. You're from Chicago, well, New York style. You're from Chicago, and you had more of a traditional background. What was your childhood like?
Right. Well, I went to public school to grammar school, and then for high school, I attended Ida Crown Jewish Academy, a mixed school. And I went there, and then after that, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. I got my master's degree in psychology, and my master's thesis, I think I was 20 years old then, was published in a psych journal. And then I came to Israel actually on a psychology convention. And I said, this is not what I want to do. I'd rather help Jewish young people out, which I was always doing. I want to be in the helping field, but not sit there and give psychometric tests or, sit in therapy sessions. I'd rather help out Jewish people know who they are as a Jew. Because in psychology also, in order to be a good therapist, a good person, you have to know who you are. So who you are, and if you're Jewish, you have to know.
So I heard that as a youngster, maybe you're 14 years old. I don't know if you started a rally, you went to a rally. Do you know what I'm referring to?
You do your homework. When I was a young person, the Nazis or neo-Nazi parties were trying to rally and protest in Chicago. The famous Skokie March. I remember. So I remember as a kid, it was a Sunday afternoon. I hitched a ride to a certain part of Chicago. I think I went with the JDL, and we went down to Marquette Park, which was a Polish section of Chicago, and that's where the neo-Nazi party had their headquarters. And I remember on the bus driving by the headquarters, there are big Nazi flags there, and outside there were guards in brown uniforms and Nazi emblems on their armbands.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, like around what year is this?
I was still in high school. Must have been 72, 73.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And then I remember, so then we went to the protest, and we were in the back protesting against what they were saying, because they all got up there, and everybody there in the front, we're all cheering them on. And it was an experience. I mean, I went. I don't think anybody else from my school went, or I don't think anybody my age really went. And I don't honestly remember how I found out about it. But I do remember at that time I was reading, this was before internet, this neo-Nazi party used to come out every week or every other week, with newsletters, anti-Jewish newsletters. And then the main Nazi party came out with their newsletter against this neo-Nazi party, because head of it, his grandmother on his father's side was Jewish, and he was known then as an imposter.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he would never qualify to be in the main Nazi party.
That's a wild story.
Yeah.
So I've heard that you had a profound life change after I think it was the 1968 Olympics.
Oh, yeah. Well, as a young boy, I used to go to shul with my father, Zichron Livracha, and we talk on the way, and we go every Shabbos, and there were people who drove to shul, people, let's say, who might have, let's say, a pen in their pocket, and that's before cell phones, so you didn't see any cell phones going off.
Right.
And I would always wonder if the rabbi is talking, giving his different sermons, how to be more observant and more respectful of Shabbat and Jewish mitzvot. Why did people never listen? Why they didn't grab it? And I would always ask, where is, at that time also the big black movement was going on. And I really think your listeners might disagree with me. Okay. That black movement was different than the black movement today of Black Lives Matter. It might differ because I have a poster up in my office of that scene in the Olympics there was 3 gentlemen, they were runners, there you go. Okay. And
Jesse Owens?
No, Jesse Owens is from World War II when Adolf Hitler walked out.
Mixed up my timeline.
You mixed up your Olympics, but it's okay. We don't know much about Olympics.
They might have broke his record, Jesse.
If you're
Jesse Owens.
referencing a Gemara, Nachi would have pinpointed the exact daf. Olympics, Nachi's like, sports gashmias. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so
they
Olympics.
raised their fist. They won a medal in the Olympics, and they raised their fist for Black Power. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not a historian. I think there is, though, a difference between that Black Power and today's movement. Now, why did it impress me? I used to always wonder and sit there as a young person, where's the Jewish power? Where's the Jewish pride? Why don't we as Jews have a similar movement, a similar thing going on? Jewish respect, Jewish pride of Torah, of who we are. And I didn't see that. But the blacks have that. Why are we not proud who we are?
So I guess that was sort of that flipped a switch for you for what you started.
It was one of the main flippers, yeah, one of the main switches. And I as I was getting more and more involved in it, and I was really worried about people and Jewish people, and I went to public school. I made sure, which is never before, I made sure that my bar mitzvah would not be on a Shabbat, on Shabbos. I didn't want people to drive to my bar mitzvah.
Oh, wow.
So I had my bar mitzvah a month later on Hanukkah. Instead of in November time.
You could have just done it like a day later.
Well, you're right. I could have done it on a Monday.
Yeah.
But they didn't have it. Years ago, my day, they didn't have it like that.
Okay.
It wasn't like, you're talking, when I grew up in Skokie, we had 1-2 shuls and that was it. And Chicago down the block, wasn't as built up. We had one or two kosher restaurants and that was it. Today, there's many. It was a different world then when I grew up.
But you don't live in Chicago now, do you?
Say it again?
You don't live in Chicago now anymore.
No, now I live in Eretz Israel. I mean, I go back to Chicago on fundraising business and to see my mom, but I live in the old city of Yerushalayim.
What's that like, living in the old city?
That's goals.
Not many people could say that, but a lot of us want to say that.
Yeah.
We live in the old city.
Well, if you want to say it, then it could happen. And that you have to realize that everything is within your power. I mean, it's awesome to live in the old city. It's a Malkum of Torah. And on the other hand, has a combination of tourists, and at the tourist site, lahavdil, like Times Square a little bit there. Okay. And so it allows me to do my work, to go out and reach out to young people, young students, which is what I do.
Right. So you're very, very involved in outreach. And for people who are watching this right now, maybe people who are even listening who recognize your voice, they would recognize you as maybe the guy standing by the Kotel on a Friday night, just making sure it doesn't matter how long someone's hair is or how short their skirt is, you're making sure that they have a Shabbos meal, they have that Shabbos experience. And
why would it matter what kind of hair they got or what kind of skirt?
Yeah, no. Why would it matter?
What kind of skirt he or she no, what kind of skirt she's wearing? It doesn't. That's right.
Meaning,
it doesn't faze
meaning
me.
you're not there as a conduit for yeshiva guys and seminary students who need a meal. You're
Well,
there.
they come to me also,
Right.
and they apply on sometimes my website for a Shabbat meal because, and I don't blame them. They want to get a Shabbat meal. They want to have an experience. They want to get out and about. And they all want to get some good food. Mm-hmm. So they also ask me for Shabbat meals too. But and I think that they also in a sense need it. And every yeshiva student or seminary young girl, woman, has also on their own level their own questions. That's in addition to my students who come from no background, but it's two different sort of people.
Right.
I think it's very cool that when someone thinks of the Kotel, you're in the top 3 people that are synonymous with
especially
the
with
Kotel.
Shabbos. You mentioned Shabbos by the Kotel. It's like,
You're the guy with saddle shoes. Am I saying that properly?
Yeah, the saddle shoes.
You
Yeah.
have very unique shoes. They kind of look like bowling shoes in a certain way. They're a lot more stylish.
But don't call them bowling shoes.
No.
They're saddle shoes.
They're saddle shoes. No, just for the young people saying like, what's the saddle shoe? So that's do you Badafka wear that to be recognized? Is that your style choice?
I mean, someone said to me maybe 15 years ago, who would have thought a pair of shoes would become a symbol of Kiruv?
It's literally your logo on your website.
It's a logo on my,
It's your representation.
It just popped up like that. It wasn't meant to be It wasn't meant to be. When I first started working on the streets, on the beat in the old city, you're talking maybe 38 years ago now. So they were still doing construction in the old city. It wasn't like it is today. It was all rock and rubble and mud.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was gravel. I remember, where the Cardo was. The Cardo was not there. And I remember I lived above the Cardo apartment there, and it was all muddy, and we slid down like a slide to go towards the Kotel, to get to the Jewish quarter. That's how it was. All rock and rubble. And my feet, the bottom of my feet got all bruised up. And I come home at night, and my feet were totally, not because of the shoe, because the ground was killing me. And I had to then go out and buy a pair of comfortable shoes. And I was going to America to see my parents at that time. I said, I gotta buy a pair of shoes. I gotta buy a pair of shoes to walk around. And I looked everywhere, shoes that I would like. And I think actually on the way to the airport I stopped at one more store on Dempster Avenue where I live, and on the way to O'Hare Airport. And I said, you know what? I want these shoes. And I bought them. And somehow they became popular. They came, go look for, we were at the Kotel, go look for I was the short bald guy. Maybe I had a little more, I might have a little more hair then. Go look for the guy with the shoes, the bowling shoes, even I'd say, right? Yeah. So it became, and then they're comfortable. They're very, very comfortable shoes. That's all I have. That's all I own. I think I have more. So now they're getting harder to find. A friend of mine, Asher Milstein, sent me to make sure I have enough shoes, like 10, 12 pairs of shoes. I have more shoes in my closet than my wife does.
Wow, that's something to be proud of, I guess. So when did this start? You go into the Kotel on a Friday night, and I guess starting to arrange meals for people. When did that start?
It started pretty much right when I came. There was, Rabbi Schuster was doing it.
Mayor Schuster, right?
Mayor Schuster, right? Zichron Livracha. He was doing it. And then another individual I used to work with, Baruch Levine, also was doing that. And I would work with them. I work more with, with Baruch. And then I guess he might have got a little burned out, got tired of doing it. And I continued it. And it's just a need. At that time was a need with secular students a lot. Instead of doing nothing Friday night. Because don't forget also, in Israel, everything is closed Friday night.
Right.
Except for maybe an Arab falafel stand. So where's a young person going to go? And it'd be a shame, a missed opportunity. And that's what we have to make sure we don't miss different opportunities out. For a young person to sit at home in his dorm and not have it go on a Friday night. I mean, how would you feel? How would you feel if you had somebody that you knew, whether he was religious or not, would sit home Friday night by himself and have dinner? You say, please come to my house. Come over. Right?
Right.
So same thing with students in Shabbat dinner Friday night.
Do you?
I mean, I didn't invent the idea,
right?
But it's there.
Do you keep track of how many meals you arrange? Like, you're doing this for how many years? Would you know how many?
Well,
you're up to?
Before COVID, it was about 100 meals a Shabbat. I'm organizing. It starts Saturday night. I start getting requests coming in
from the Saturday night after Shabbos is over. You get requests for next Shabbos.
Motzi Shabbos. Right, 6 days, 7 days ahead of time, yeah. And then people come down to the Kotel Friday night. I'd like it if they sign up ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't like that years ago. Before years ago, there was no internet. Right. This way, I can look at who they are. Sometimes they might have, an allergy or a vegetarian, so I can work on that. Instead of them coming down to the wall and saying to me, oh, I'm here, Jeff. Or, say, Jeff, I'm here with my 5 friends. So then I have to find a 5 spot for them.
So that's also, I guess, a challenge. Having the families.
I've been there. I don't think I ever asked you for a meal, but I've been there and I've seen you work your magic. It's literally crisis management. Literally hundreds of people all at the same time coming to you, right. And usually you don't have any clue who they are, and you have to all of a sudden become the shadchan to match them up with the proper meal. How do you deal with that that crisis? And B, how do you red them to the right hosts?
Well, generally, before I come down to the wall, I do a couple of shots of whiskey to calm me down before I get into the pit, into the right there, and get all the people coming at me at one time. They come at me, and the families come at me behind me, and I also listen. I want to make sure also that I try to send those families the right people, because for the family also it's their Shabbat, and I want to make sure that it's a pleasure for both of them, the family and the young person. And I want both the family and the young person to grow from that experience.
So how do you connect? Like, let's say if Nachi came to you and said, "Oh, I need a meal."
Okay, so I'd say first, right now, today, in this generation, 2021, I'd say, can you please fill a form out online? Okay, so you go to my website, one of them, getshabbat.com, and this, let's say you and your wife or you and another friend are here in Israel, and I would look also where you're staying, because I'm not gonna put you 10 blocks away, and you might say to me that you want to daven at the Kotel late. Jeff, if you don't get me a meal, it's okay. I can always go back. I can buy some. You'll tell me. I can buy my own little wine. I can have a little bit of pita, right? I just want to be at the Kotel and I want to daven, you'll say to me, right? So if you do, I need a late minion, a late host. So I got that in my mind also now. An early one, you're not going to. Or I might ask what you do, what kind of spot you want. And if, let's say there's more than 2, there's 6 or 5.
Right.
So I see who I can weasel around.
I heard
you're doing that for like 100 people. So how do you keep it in your mind? Like, okay, this guy wants late, this guy wants early, this one's vegetarian, this one.
Oh, so I beforehand I write it down, or beforehand. So that's fine. I would say to you, you call. You're going to go to family X. Call them ahead of time to register to confirm. And you'll say, Jeff, can you help me get there? I'll say, yeah, sure. Just, I'll give you the address. Please look it up. Or I might say, look it up. Your host might even be at that minion, and he'll take care of you. I'll point him out to you.
And let me clarify, you don't get paid for this. This isn't something that you're getting paid for.
So the government isn't paying you to set up meals for them.
No, I don't. I mean, let's say it's one of I don't get paid for it. But you want to say it's one of my services, one of the things that I do as part of my organization, that's fine.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Families do not get paid.
To have people for meals, I mean,
they don't get, right. I don't pay them. What I do collect, when I do collect with my Shabbat program, is when I do a Shabbat dinner up at my Hebrew Youth Center or my Tel Aviv Center for those kids who don't want to walk, or those young people who might be a little bit afraid to go to a Shabbat family. They don't,
Why afraid? Why would they be afraid?
To go into someone's house new, and if I don't know anything, I don't know when they're going to make kiddush or what it's all about. You know what I mean? And my joke with them is that all they expect you to do is eat with a fork and a knife.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. Or they say, you know what, Jeff, we know your worker here at your Hebrew Youth Center, Ari. We'd like to have dinner, and we're going to make dinner at the center. His wife are going to be there. We'll go there. And it's right across the street. And they feel comfortable doing that.
Have you had any bad experiences, like really bad stories that happened? You set up a meal with a family and someone, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I've had that where it hasn't worked out. Where, like, I don't know, maybe, let's say the young person was a vegetarian, didn't eat anything, like, and he didn't warn me, and and any woman will tell you, you got to tell me ahead of time if they're vegetarian. There's been experience, or someone doesn't show up.
Oh yeah,
and I will tell you.
I bet that happens often.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. You sign up for a meal by me, and you don't show up. You never call me again.
You burnt that bridge.
You burn the bridge or you sign up, and you cancel with me on like Friday afternoon. Oh, Jeff, you know what? We found the meal. We're not coming. Good. I wish you the best. Don't ask me again.
People don't realize. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. But meanwhile, you as the host, whoever the host is, they prepared the food. Or they invited you instead of 4 other guests they could have had. Maybe they even stayed home that Shabbat, and now you cancel by them. I don't. A little bit of responsibility, a little bit of courtesy, menschkeit.
You ever think about being a shadchan?
Everybody asks me the same question. I could.
It might be easier to set up people with chicken than.
I could. But, I mean, I have sent people to families, and these 2 kids met at the family, got married.
Oh, no way. You should get shadchanis for that.
I don't think I even got invited to the wedding. I don't even think so. Or they'll say, one time someone said to me, we were standing in the circle by you, and I met this girl because of you, Jeff. Now we're getting married.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
A family that comes to mind, and there's probably many families in Ma'adaf and Machlis. I know
all roads lead to Machlis.
They literally had an open house.
He has an open house. He has over 100 people at his table. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember one of my first experiences of Rabbi Machlis was on Purim time. This is like, you're talking 35, 38 years ago, before he even became the popular Rabbi Machlis. And I must have had about 25 extra kids who needed a Purim Suda. And I remember I was with them. I was with these young people in Mei Sharim, and I go to someone's house who I knew in Mei Sharim, and I call up the family. I have kids who need a Suda? And can you take them? I said, sure, bring them all over. There was no hesitation. Bring them all over.
That was the start of a
Yeah.
Good relationship too. I heard from the hosting side that you're a very good negotiator. That you'd call them, say, okay, do you have a spot for 6? And they say, oh, only 2. And you're like, okay, what about 5? That you're a master negotiator. And
I was at someone's house. He didn't say it like that. He says, you came up to me at the Kotel and asked me for 2, and then you gave me 4.
That's great.
And it worked
So
out.
you've been on, I guess, the cure scene for quite a while, a couple of decades. Besides just setting up meals, you do a lot more than that. How has I guess the scene changed? From
Nobody's searching anymore. No one is looking. You're right. Today,
I guess I suppose
today, for example, with a young person, if I would say to him or her, I have an excellent spot, a really good experience in Mei Sharim, and they speak English there, you'll go for that experience. You'll check it out. It's like going to a Tish. A guy would say, he'll say, let's go to the Tish, in Mei Sharim or in Gula and get that experience, get that, let's go to Meron for that experience on Lag Bomer, right? And then you see a picture of the fellow dancing with Hasidim around, right? Young people are not looking for that anymore. I think they're intimidated by it, or they don't know how to relate to it.
There was there was a Rav Noach Weinberg, boom, where I think Rav Yom Tov Glazer told us in an interview in that time, I believe it was 80s, 90s, to have someone to come from was like easy. They were looking for it. They were coming to Israel with their backpack, and you said, here's chicken soup on Friday night, and they became from. And now I guess it's just
it takes
not
more.
like
it takes
that.
much. Yeah. Nobody is looking. No one's searching.
Competing with so much more out there.
Yep. In other words, if you take these young people on a tiyul, even like let's say a Shabbaton, and you're going up north with them, so nothing happens actually in the morning. You're driving there at 6:37 in the morning, but you would see these kids on their phone, texting or maybe even taking a picture. As compared to years ago, you see them looking outside the window, enjoying the scenery, enjoying where they're at. And I will tell you also, the kids that come to Israel now, it's a miracle they come. I don't know what brings these kids anymore to Israel, especially with Israel has for many years bad press.
Yeah.
But they're here. They're here. They come, and even now during COVID, they're here. They're taking their Zoom classes in Israel, so I get my hands on them.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Nah, he mentioned Rav Noach Weinberg. Did he have a big impact on your life?
Well, he was someone involved in Kiruv, of course. Anybody. These are all idols. These are all people that I look up to because they care about the Jewish people and about the secular Jewish people.
Yeah.
Or Sameach, Rabbi Weinbach, Rabbi Schiller. They're very, very important people. Or Refson, at Neve. Mm-hmm. They people, when it wasn't even that popular, Kiruv, they sat there and they said, I guess in the Litvish world, that we have to try to stop the flow and help out these young people.
What would Israel, the Jewish nation as a whole look like without Rabbi Refson, without Rabbi Noach Weinberg, without Rabbi Weinbach?
There'd be a big void of young people, or young Jewish people, just going off the path, not knowing anything. Or how many people you hear that would say, you know what, like I said, that chicken soup, in a sense, saved me. I was dating a non-Jewish girl, things like that. I had a boy one time. Oh, nice. I have a family. They're from Florida, and they come, several times a year. And I sent them by this one family Friday night. Them are like a bunch of 6-7 guys, at least 6-7 guys of that group. They'll take 25 from me. And I don't know what they do, but everybody loves them, this one family. Mm-hmm. Okay? They have an apartment at the Waldorf.
Oh, that's why.
Bingo.
No. It could be. It could be a little. It could be a little bit. But an apartment at the Waldorf, apartment at the Kotel, it lasts a little bit.
Yeah.
You still gotta, perform. You still gotta be able to run the show.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, I was told maybe like about a month, 2 months later, that this family made such an impression on this young boy that he called up his girlfriend, who was not Jewish, that night and broke up with her. She, you know what I mean?
It's wild.
Yeah, I only heard about it like about a month later. Did you know about our friend, this and that? He was dating this young girl, and he literally called her up that night and broke up with her.
That's wild. We'll be right back to this important episode, but first we have a few important messages for you.
Story time, guys.
I love stories.
I got off the phone with a friend, and I was asking him for a reference for a doctor. And he mentioned this top-notch doctor, really, a great doctor. I asked him, that sounds great, and I appreciate it, but which insurance does he take? He says, I have no idea. I have no clue which insurance he takes because I don't even have insurance right now. And this is a responsible guy, a responsible friend of mine. I said, okay, what does that mean? How can you not have insurance? He told me that over the years, he's paid over $100,000 towards health insurance. And Baruch Hashem, because he and his family are healthy, they hadn't gotten any benefit out of it.
Whoa.
He felt like he'd been wasting money on his insurance premiums and deductibles. Instead, he switched to United Refuah Health Share, which are saving him over $20,000 a year. I was like, whoa, sign me up.
That is so cool. Wait, so what is a health share exactly?
So what he told me was intriguing. Health share is a group of people who share religious beliefs. For us, it's Jewish. Yaakov's, it's Christianity.
Chas v'shalom.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
For
what's that?
us, it's Jewish beliefs. We share each other's medical expenses. I help you, you help me. It's as simple as that. It's v'hafta l'oreach k'mocha at its best.
That is so amazing. So how's he able to use the top doctor in that scenario?
So as uninsured patients, they are free to choose any doctor or hospital, and they're eligible for sizable discounts. When they need medical care, the top doctors in the country are available to them. No in-network restrictions, amazing total flexibility.
That's so cool. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's paying $4.99 a month for his whole family, as opposed to what he was previously paying, which was $2,000 a month, which is typical for insurance plans.
Right.
The cost is based on membership size. In addition to all these great benefits, he says that the customer service is 5-star. He never has to wait on hold. He gets answers right away, and his bills are processed faster than ever. So that's why I'm urging you guys to go ahead and learn more about this at unitedrefuah.org. Check it out at www.unitedrefuah.org. Give them a call, 1-855-SHARE-55. That's 1-855-SHARE-55. And learn more about it, and maybe for you and your family. You know what else maybe for you and your family? Yaakov, there's something, this virus been going around, specifically in the Jewish community, I think, all over.
Yeah.
RSV. It's a respiratory virus, mainly, found in kids and babies. Obviously, adults get it as well, but not as bad. And it's scary. You got to monitor your kid, make sure they're breathing okay. It's a cough. It's sneezing. It sticks around. It lingers a little while. there's nothing more that you want to do if let's say you need to go to the hospital for a few nights with your baby to just keep it monitored. You don't want to be heading to a pharmacy after. You want the best pharmacy in the world, AMR, meeting you at your door with the medication you need.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting to say something, but you're just going with it. I'm like, for the ad, you could say as much as you want. But that's 100% true. Like, it's a great point. Who wants to, when they're not feeling well, you could probably hear my voice. When you're not feeling well, you don't want to go to one of these big pharmacies where there's other people that are contagious and have some other disease that you really don't want.
You just want to be in bed.
You want to be in bed, and you want to be able to say, oh, someone's at the door. Oh, it's AMR to bring us our medication so we can feel better. So that's why AMR Pharmacy is the best pharmacy in the world if you're in New York, New Jersey. Even if you're not in New York, New Jersey, it's still the best, but that there you can help them. Yeah.
But give them a call at 848-222-1110. Become part of the family.
Say that number one more time.
848-222-1110. Or just head to their website if you're part of the millennial Gen Z era. Go to www.amrfarmrx.com. That's AMR Farm, not with an F. That's PHARM.
I was always thinking, maybe I'm going to check it up. It's probably nothing but that domain AMR
Farm
with the F.
This guy, there's some guy who has crops in the Midwest
the best farm, and I don't know what the farm.
Also, yeah, very good. Anyways, guys, United Refuah, AMR Pharmacy, got all your health needs covered. Make sure to check him out and enjoy the rest of this episode. I think it's one of those things that maybe people, on the surface, you're setting up meals for people. It could seem like, oh, it's superficial. It's, guys or girls need to eat, and you're arranging a meal for them. But it's so much more than that. First of all, the impact that it could have on them, both short-term and long-term. For many, it could be a first Shabbos meal, or it could be one of their first Shabbos meals. There's something so meaningful about what you're doing.
And not only that, I told people the story that even if someone came for a meal, he ate, okay, and he left. So you'll say to me, did we waste our time with him? So I have two responses for that. Did we waste our time with him or her, that person? Is what happens if we sent him to a Christian missionary house?
Yeah.
Would you say, and he went for a dinner there, would that be okay with you?
Absolutely not.
Why? Nothing happened. You waste your time.
Huh.
So it can go both ways. You understand?
Yeah.
If you're afraid on the other side, then it must have a positive effect on the Jewish side. But even if it doesn't have any real immediate effect, it could be, which happens all the time, that this person then tells his friends to go for a Shabbat meal. When you're in Jerusalem, go see that, the short guy with the sandal shoes at the Kotel, and he'll give you a meal. And sometimes kids come down with the list which families they want to go to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to this family, went to that family.
It's like a draft.
I was on the phone last night. I was on the phone last night actually with a young boy from Hebrew University, and because I was doing follow up with him continuing my relationship with him, and he asked me right away, "How's that one family you sent me to?" He gave me the name, the Wench family. How are they doing? Please, if you remember, Jeff, give them my regards. And some of the families actually also keep in touch with the students. So the advantage also, if you fill out a form, and I say to you, can you please call that family to confirm? Okay, the family writes down, let's say your name, Nachi +4, your phone number maybe, whatever it is. And there's some of the families might send you a message, let's say on Pesach time. Are you still in Israel? What are you doing? Let's say, Do you want to come for Pesach Seder? Or how are you doing? And you might be back in America, and then you respond.
Yeah. I'm gonna dub something for you. Maybe someone said this before. You're like the entry drug for Torah. Like you're like you
Gateway.
Gateway drug, entry drug. You like.
I don't know anything about drugs.
No, you get people in, get the taste of it, and then all of a sudden, I heard a story from Rabbi Hano Kotel. I spoke to him doing some research on you, and he said he was sharing a taxi in Eretz Yisrael, and it was with a frum lady, and he didn't know. He started talking, and she basically says oh yeah, and your name came up. She's like, oh, I'm from because of Jeff Seidel, and he said he mentioned it to you, and he didn't know if you're maybe being humble or you just genuinely you're like, oh, I don't even know who you're talking about. Like these I don't know. Yeah.
You're gonna get me in trouble, you know.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Baruch Hashem, there are many people that I've put my hand on, I've touched, and I don't always remember every one of them. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're not important. Every single person who walks into my office, every single person that calls me on the phone or texts me, whatever, or emails me, they are all important.
Your mind can only hold so much. I mean,
right. Okay, but I'm just saying, you know, and that's right. And if they come down to the wall, people say, "You remember me?" And I might not remember them right away. Unless something negative. I don't know.
Listen, it's dark, you know.
But they are important. They are important.
On that note, before we were in the car, I asked you, I saw a post on Instagram, you know, your daughter had a baby a few, I don't know, years, months ago. I don't know when it was. And I said, oh, how many children do you have? And your answer right away was... Your answer right away was, I don't want, you say it, you go first.
You can say it, go ahead.
He said, in the Harpy, he said all from people, oh, not all from, I'm botching it up.
The whole world of my children.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how it is. We have each one of us.
Is that because you don't know how many children you have? Or
No, thank God I know. Thank God I know. I have 5 kind of hard children, and a lovely wife, who puts up with all my shenanigans.
Right.
She says I'm on this roller coaster with you.
Right.
Forever.
And I know
So nice.
I asked Yaakov, I was talking to Yaakov this morning, I said, maybe let's just, get some coffee for you. And you said to Yaakov that I'm probably going to be fleischiks or something like that.
So I'm up early in the morning.
What time's early?
Today I was up at 3:30. Right. Also, I'm on the phone with Israel.
Right.
Phone with Israel. And you know, and then also by 6 o'clock, I'm sitting in the Aguda. Do not laugh now. With one of my old students who teaches me. One of my old students is like a MAGA cheer here.
Oh, really?
Rabbi Jacoby.
Oh, no way.
Benji Jacoby.
Yeah. For sure.
So we learn at 6 to 6:45, and then we daven on Nate's together. So I just sit there and pay attention to what he tells me.
I love that you're the people that you've helped being Makar are now your teachers.
The student becomes the master.
That's so cool.
For a family maybe that's listening, or anyone who's listening, that they're into having guests on Shabbos, and I feel like you maybe would have some insight on this. Obviously, your role is sort of arranging the meals, but maybe a family likes having guests who are not so from, or they're trying to figure out more. What would you say to that family of, okay,
what are they worried about? What are they worried about?
They're not worried about anything. But
I was asked that question. I bet you, like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Can I please talk about how to run a Shabbat dinner
with those types of guests?
Okay. And I looked at the people, and I says, how do you run it? You set the table. You buy wine. I guess if you like chicken or meat, unless you're vegetarian, then it's a different gig, right? I says, you have a fork and a knife out. You make kiddush, and you go and wash for hamotzi, and you're on. Well, and they said to me, that's it? Put some sodas out, put some whiskey out.
But what if they're not, there's going to be, let's say there's questions that come up, and they want to make sure not to say the wrong thing, or
they won't.
Is that overthinking it?
Yeah, you're overthinking. You won't say the wrong thing. You got to be polite to people. Be polite. Listen, be who you are as a person. They're coming because they want to be with you. They like you.
No one's forcing them.
Yeah, no one's forcing them.
Because obviously they have the Shabbos project.
And you know what? You don't have all the answers.
Right.
Nobody does. Okay? Unless you're going to have your computer on Friday night. Okay? What those services they have, like you can call out the question and then the computer responds. We don't have that. Our job is to be respectful of who they are and be a nice person. They want nice people. They want to build a relationship with you. That's the only way it's going to happen. And if they would say to you that they're going someplace that you don't approve of, that's who they are. You're not going to change them overnight. And like I said, also they might come for Shabbat many times. They might go to class. You might get them to go to classes every Monday night or Tuesday night or whatever. And everything's a process. They didn't get who they were overnight, being, let's say, non-religious. Okay, and they grew up with it. And when you grow up with it, it's in your body, it's in your soul. It's like teaching somebody to ride a bicycle. It's much harder at an older age. And when they do become religious or more observant, and you see them davening in the shul, you should be in awe of them. They're sitting there struggling at each word. And you're talking to your neighbor, let's say, or you're getting ready to leave, and that person's still davening. I tip my hat. They are miles ahead of me. You're talking something totally new to them. It's like you and I would come right now and say, let's take a course in Chinese. Right? You understand?
I bet I imagine there's a lot of families that are hesitant, especially, let's say Shabbos project time in America, but both in America and Israel. Do you think more families should just have, I guess, less observant people over for Shabbos? I
do, but I will tell you also that it could be also Friday night might not be the right thing to do right away. In Israel, it's a little easier. It might be to invite somebody or have these young people, students, young adults, go for a class, maybe on a Tuesday night, a social. Mm-hmm. That might be they might have Tuesday nights free instead of Friday night free. And the class has to be something that's interesting to them, not what interests you. You got to go out at their level.
I feel like this is like a way that everyone can do kiruv. You have someone over for a meal. That's your form or a class, or that's like a form of kiruv.
I might add one thing also. Make sure you know how to cook.
That's a key ingredient.
Or buy.
Oh, fun.
Or buy.
Right.
Just have good food.
So one of the things.
Isn't that if you were a single boy, or when you were a single young fella, and you're in Eretz Israel, for example, and you want to go to the family, and you'd say, well, we went to that family like 3 months ago, and they had great food. Call them on the phone. Right? Am I right?
Of course.
Okay. So these young people.
Good food, good company,
Let me explain to you. These young people are not Martians. The same things that you like, they like. You want to call it, let's say, an Apple computer or a nice suit or, whatever it is, a nice car. They have the same interests that you have. And you can talk about that also.
Right. Don't try too hard, pretty much.
Something that you do, and you're a pro at this, and we're not recommending people do this, but you're a pro. You've been doing this for many years. You're known as you've gone into bars, you've gone into clubs, you've gone into places where people are not expecting a Shabbos dinner or a Shabbos meal or connecting to Yiddishkeit, and you just go in there, and I've heard you get rejected a lot. People are like, go away. But very often people say, oh, okay, I'll connect. What?
Well, okay, so that yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know.
You're not scared of that rejection.
No. Listen. I can be, let's say, Yerushalayim at my house, and once it hits 11:30, I get ready to leave to go to the clubs, the bars. Okay, they don't start till like late. When I was younger, they started earlier. Now, I one time was at a bar. It was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And I get there at 11:20 at night. It was a Hebrew University party. I want to invite the students. It was me and some other guy was there. And I look around. I said to this guy, am I in the right place? Like do I have to go? Oh, wait till 1 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock, it was packed. That's how it is. And I gotta go where I like to go, where they are.
How does rejection not I guess make you want to stop?
Yeah.
It doesn't rub me at all.
No, you understand. I mean, that's I guess it's a.
One thing. It's up to him, up to her. That if they say, no, thank you. It does hurt me a little bit sometimes if they're a little bit obnoxious, because then I'll turn around and say, I am only asking if you got a place for Shabbat dinner. That's all I asked you. You can always say, And there are people who say, there are people, sometimes even yeshiva students, who turn around in all their environment. They say, Rabbi, I'm all set, but thank you for asking. And even for that, you see that I touched them for that 3 seconds where they felt that somebody asked and cares about them. But I don't mind that. It's not even on my list. Okay, people tell me no, thank you, bye.
Speaking about frat parties, you're an honorary member of the AEPI. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that
You
right.
got it, API.
It's for people who don't know what is AEPI.
It's a fraternity, a Jewish fraternity, all over. It's the biggest one, and it's all over America. It was started based on anti-Semitism at NYU, when they would not let them have their own. They would not let the Jewish young men, Jewish university students, into their fraternity. So they started their own fraternity. And so they're all over America. They branched out to Israel, and I help organize them. And I'm a founding father, which means they come and use my place. They have meetings by me and programs by me. And I sit with the boys, the young men. It's for young fellows, men. We sit and talk. We do Shabbatons together. I get them involved in Judaism. It's another avenue, and it's not a religious organization at all. It's a secular, and I go to their conventions every year. This year they didn't have one. I go to their conventions every year. We make a minyan there, and it's just another avenue of reaching out to young people.
Speaking about avenues, anyone who goes to Hebrew U or
Tel Aviv University, Ben-Gurion,
all of those, they don't really pass through without having some contact with you. Whether you're giving them a free chumash or
It's like a Venus
a free
flytrap.
menorah.
for Hanukkah.
Yeah,
Right.
or you're inviting them to your Purim Suda with like fun
Right.
banners and stuff like that.
Right, with Purim Suda, we lay in the Megillah, and then we have a party for the young people. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm trying to always mix what the current situation is to their experience the best I can. The Shabbat Meals coming up now as the new semester is beginning. So we're going to have a couple, different barbecues coming up now. Again, as long as we're allowed to in Israel with the corona. And then we're going to have we have classes. And then one of the big draws we have, which is also a way of inviting the young people, is our Super Bowl party, which the neighbor always complains about because it's like, starts at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
So I one time had a boy, who I invited, because again, at the beginning of the semester. So I need a hook to introduce myself, who they are. And I invited this young fella to our Super Bowl party. And he says to me, come on, Jeff, what is this catch? What is the catch? Now I got a little upset with. I don't mind getting rejected for Shabbat. I says, what do you mean, what's the catch? I said, like, it kind of said in a certain, attitude also, of sarcastic or like, the only catch is that there's kosher food at it. That is the catch. I says, I don't care who you root for, who you cheer on. I don't care how many beers you drink. I says, the food's kosher. That's the only thing you're going to get. Like you want to call it like, he's like, what's your Judaism catch to me? Today, thank God, this boy is religious today.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that's really nice.
Is there something, I guess, as we begin to wind down this episode, is there something that when, I guess, people, Eretz Hashem, more people should be able to go to Eretz Yisrael and be by the Kotel very soon, but when they see you working your magic, arranging, is there something that you wish they knew about the whole process?
That it's them. They are a Jewish person. One time I had a young fella on my program, and we used to go to Poland for Pesach time. And we had a staff meeting, and this fella wanted to have a beer on Pesach, and that, like, And after the meeting, the hotel comes up to me and says that you told us not to serve any beer or any, because of your Jewish holiday, Passover, to any of your students. The boy walked up to me and asked me, how come I can't have a beer? He says, I don't keep Passover. I said to myself right away, you don't keep Passover because you don't know what it even is. So we sat there the whole night talking about what Passover was all about and what it meant, what its relationship was to him as a Jewish person. And then I related it to the Holocaust, to how the Jewish people were singled out because they were Jewish. Okay? And I even told him, I says, if you miss a beer for 8 days, I can hurt you. Right after Passover, I took him out and bought him beers.
I hope you got him a keg.
Yeah, him and his two friends. And he says, it was a bit of a trial for us, right? But we did it, Jeff. We kept Passover by not having beer. I says, and we're still in contact together. And Baruch Hashem, the fellow, he told me he goes every Friday night for Shabbat, at the synagogue and pray and davens, But my first impression was, how can you even say, you don't even know what it's even about?
That's really beautiful. I'm going to get to a question, and I'll start it off with, I went on your website, and because you're by the coastal, you're in the old city. It's obviously a tourist attraction for very famous people. I have over here a few people. You met up. We have pictures with the Rolling Stones, Wolf Blitzer, Ivanka Trump, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, Mariana Rivera, Robert Kraft, and really many more. Do you have a relationship with any of these
Some
people?
of them I do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So I'm going to get to my question. My question is, a lot of
Ivanka Trump, I met her in New York City.
Really?
Yeah, we went to Davin. This is before she became in the White House, before the presidency. Mm-hmm. We were davening at the shul right outside. We were davening at the shul right outside, and we went to get a bagel, some breakfast there. And you saw these two big, what do you call them? SUVs,
oh, okay.
And these two big guys standing outside with, behind their ear, what do you call it, like security? What do you call it?
Yeah, like CIA thingies, those wires, yeah.
And someone said to me, Ivanka, Trump, she comes around here, takes her kid to school in the morning. I said, we got to wait. I got to get a picture of her. I said, the students will love it. And that was before the presidency. Okay?
Today it's over.
You're right. And I says, these got to be security guards for her right away. And I walk up to the security guards and I say, you got to be here for Mrs. Trump, Ivanka. I says, I'm telling. He says, how do you know? He wouldn't tell me first. I said, I'm from Israel. We know what security guards look like. He said, she's right over there. And she was on the phone. And after I said, can I get a picture of her? He says, it's up to her. She was very nice. When she got off the phone, I asked for a picture. And she took the picture right away. And I thanked her. And then we both went on our ways.
Maybe you'll help her. You'll help us get her on this podcast one day. So if there's one person in history that you could spend an hour with, have a little deli sandwich with, who would it be?
I have more than one person.
Okay.
I have a couple people.
Okay.
One on the secular side.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, I'm from Chicago. I don't know. And who's one of the big celebrities in Chicago?
Michael Jordan?
MJ, yeah, Michael Jordan.
Okay. What will you talk to him about?
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
You're very impressed, yeah.
Yaakov's not a sports
Yeah,
guy.
I'm not a sports guy. But Michael Jordan, I know. Come on.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan had a work ethic that was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
He was always working at his game, always improving it. And that's how we have to be. I even remember, I was in Israel and I came back because I go fundraising. I was in Chicago, and at one time they were in a losing streak or something, and they said that Jordan was early at the United Center, practicing his shot. Now, they were not losing because of the way he played ball.
Right.
Because the other guys on the team. But he was always improving and always working on his game. Okay? When he got older, he changed his whole approach to the basket, you call it, right? Instead of what they call these dunk shots. And I'm 5'1", if that. I'm never playing basketball. I'm telling you now, right? So I don't got a chance. But
Muggsy Bogues, you know?
that's what my wife says right away. Yeah.
Muggsy Bogues was a player.
Yeah, I
who was
assume he's short. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
I
okay.
could have.
But he had that, and he had that drive. He has that drive inside of him to be a better player, better person in the game. And his work ethic is really what like I said, to change your game at his older age, to keep in the game, or to always be there and practice and work at it. It's like always Lahavdil going over the Gemara till you get it, till you get it. Do you understand? Okay, that to us. And then, so Lahavdil, it would have to either be Avraham Avinu or Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not sure which one.
What would he speak to him about?
Helping the Jewish people out. Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham Avinu was to engage people, to bring him to Judaism for the first time. Moshe Rabbeinu was to deal with them with his own frustration, how they were not, let's say, being observant or doing certain things. Each one of them had a different angle, and they both, I couldn't tell you which one, but they both, one day I'll say Avraham Avinu because he went out against the world and wanted to makarve people to Judaism, right? And to see the light. I tell people, someone asked me what drives me to what I do. And I looked at them. I really did not understand the question. What drives you to what I do? I says, it doesn't bother you that if Jewish people don't keep mitzvahs? As it doesn't bother you if you're on the airplane, let's say going to Israel, or you're on the airplane, let's say going from New York to LA, and there's a Jewish person there, and they're eating non-kosher food next to you. It doesn't crawl you up the back, or to find out that let's say somebody at work went to an Xmas party. I just, if I'm 5'1", I just go to the ceiling right away. It bothers me. I don't know why it doesn't bother other. I assume it bothers other people also, and other people can do. We all can make a change in our own way. If you know who you are as a person, everybody can make a change with somebody else. In whatever way it is. You don't got to sit there like I do and go to the clubs at night or to stand at the Kotel Friday night and get meals. But you can do it in other ways to help out the Jewish people, because there's nothing else but Klal Yisrael. And they need us. Moshe Rabbeinu gave up so much. Okay? And he was the hard guy. Aaron was a softie. I heard a Devar Torah, and I hope I'm saying it right. I might not be saying it right, so please, it said that, there was a big difference between Shem and Aver and Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu also was a Talmid Chacham. Shem and Aver, ran their yeshiva, and people went to their yeshiva to learn. But Avram Avinu's and Shem and Aver are known to be Talmid Chacham, right? To be right. Let's call them Rosh Yeshivas. Abraham also, in a sense, was Rosh Yeshiva, but Avram Avinu knew he kept all Torah. It said, but he's not known for that. He's known for sacrificing his time of studying Torah to go out and help the world out. That's what he's known for. Avram Avinu gave up his time instead of sitting and learning also, let's say, by Shem Aver, or making his own yeshiva in his own little tent, and have Sarah, his wife Sarah, cook lunch for all these yeshiva boys, right? Okay? He's known, instead of doing that, to standing out there picking people up.
Wow.
There's 613 mitzvahs. Which one do you think that you connect with more than the rest?
You want to... Haftel Recho Kamocha.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense for you.
Yeah.
You love every Jew.
I love every Jew. Every Jew. We are our brother's keeper.
On that note, I'm going to ask the reverse a little of that. What's a pet peeve of yours when something that Klal Yisrael does that we need to improve on?
I can't talk bad about Klal Yisrael.
A real lover of the Yidden.
I can't talk bad about him.
Wow.
I really can't. And whatever they might be doing wrong, there are certain reasons for that, and I don't know them.
What would you say is the... I'm going to ask one side and Nachi's going to ask the other side. I'm going to ask, what is the worst advice that you've ever received?
That's I don't know. Sometimes someone will say to me, oh, they're so deep out of it, away from Judaism. Why do you talk to them? Why do you deal with them? Leave them alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Don't stop. Keep them going.
Maybe the best advice you ever gotten was, they're so far out. They're so far out. Keep going.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, they might be far out, and maybe I shouldn't give them so much energy if I have other people that I'm working with. But if I'm right there with them, why not?
If someone is, Nachi spoke before about, how we could all help, but from a financial stance, for the work that you're doing, if someone wants to contribute and help you perpetuate what you're doing and continue...
Not me, we
continue what we're doing, how could they help us?
They can go to my website, jeffseidel.com, and boy, they can just put those zeros there.
Okay.
Right?
We have the number before the zeros. But...
Yeah, number before the zeros,
right.
For sure. Right.
Jeff Seidel, JEFFSEIDEL.com.
.com.
Okay. Jeff.
I just think it's so important that people take the time out a little bit, in whatever way it is, to help someone else out, get closer. And I might sound redundant, might be a cliche, but we really, really need that help. And even if it means helping someone, like I said, and you don't see the results right away, like I told you, you never know. I've had people who you don't see the results, and then 6 months, 9 months, a year later, they walk up to me, and Jeff, I'm religious now. I look at them, and they walk into my office, and they say, and I tell my worker, when the person leaves, that guy, I don't think he went for anything. What did I do? He comes and thanks me because maybe I was just there. And like I said, maybe he didn't come to many things that I offered, but when he went back to America, he did it. I have a boy. A boy will tell me, you know what? It's a miracle. It's a miracle that I came to Israel. I just decided, hey, I'll go. I had nothing else to do. And it's a miracle that he met this girl, let's say in Israel, and now, because he was dating, going out with anybody he wanted. And he married a Jewish girl. And some people, and for some people, for that, it's an aliyah. For some people, that's macabre them to marry a Jewish person. And you and I don't think that way. But everybody at their own level, who they are.
Well, Jeff Seidel, thank you for spending some time with us.
I hope I was able to somehow even inspire just one person.
You told me that. You said I don't think anyone's going to listen to this, but my mother's going to listen.
Right.
so
make sure I get a copy for my mom to listen to. That.
Yeah, hi, Mommy Seidel.
I'll tell you 2 quick stories. I have a travel guide. Now the travel guide is online. Okay. And so you never know. It was the end of the year, like November time. So, November time, once it is November, October, December, we're always updating the book. And right now the book has over 1,000 names of contacts. And I bet you I could add another 1,000 if I would really put my head to it. Okay. So one story is, that these guys, they're from Baltimore. It was the end of the year. And to go into my old office, you come inside and you walk up the stairs. So I put the old traveler guides there because I'm getting rid of them. I don't need them anymore. So there's two stories. These guys, I gave these guys a tour one time. It was like Jewish sites in the Muslim Quarter. And we're talking. And I said, do me a favor. Here, take a book. Oh, I don't want one. I don't need one. I shoved it in his hand. I said, take it. Goes back to America, looks up the rabbi there. Baruch Hashem, today's from. Okay. Another story. So you never know.
Right.
Just take the book. Right. Another story is, and someone told me this story years and years later, that the same book I have down below there, so end of the day, I look what goes on, and somebody ripped out a page of the book. I said, what obnoxious person would do that? Just take the book. And someone says to me, it must have been years later, this girl ripped down a little page, a little corner of your book, this rabbi, and she called me up. And she was on vacation, like in Mexico or one of these, and she got pregnant. And she wanted someone to adopt a Jewish baby. And she called me up because of your book, because she ripped out that page in your book.
Wow.
And the rabbi told me he got a hold of Ohel, and they took care of the baby, Jewish family.
This book it's a directory for, what is this book exactly?
The book has, let's say, contacts. It wasn't meant for that,
right.
but thank God the rabbi had the know-how to help out this young girl. It has a contact. Let's say you're going to go again to Mexico, or you're going to go to Cancun, or you're going to go to Russia, for places for Shabbat or for Jewish learning. So let's say you'd say to me, Jeff, I'm going to go to UCLA, or I'm going to go to University of Texas, as an example, or Toronto, France, Australia, has names all over in these different countries of individuals or organizations that will help you out to further your Judaism. So if you would say to me, Jeff, you know what? I'm leaving. I go to, let's say, a university here in New York, and what do you have? I'm going to be in France, and I'm not religious, Jeff, but I want to get a Pesach Seder there, or I'm going to be in Italy for Pesach Seder there. So it has names there as an example to help you out.
There you have it, guys and girls. That's our episode for this week with Jeff Seidel. So if you find yourself in Israel, you find yourself by the Kotel or Kosel or the wall, the OG wall, whatever you call it, and you're looking for a meal, go to him. Say, hey, I'm looking for a Shabbos meal.
Yeah.
And if you want to power what he's doing, go to jeffseidel.com. There's so many opportunities to help him continue doing more of what he's doing. And what he's doing is not just setting people up for meals. He's connecting people with their roots, with Yiddishkeit.
And we actually sat down after, because he's like, there's the wildest story that ever happened to me. He's a good conversationalist. So we actually recorded more with Jeff. So we're going to try to get that released in some interesting way, hopefully soon.
Yes, and that interesting way also means, guys, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because you want to be up to date with all that's new with meaningful people.
But I know what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
I probably have to pay to be subscribed.
Yes, Instagram now charges $1.99 to follow a page.
That's not true.
It's not true at all. But if they did, who would you follow? That's a great question to think about and discuss at your Shabbos table.
Yes, a great Shabbos table topic.
In 2021.
But
who would you follow on Instagram? Well, Noah.
Thanks so much for listening. And if you could also say Tehillim for someone I know personally, Shem Ben Penina Esther, not something we typically do. I just know the situation. I know the people. Great people, if you could say Tehillim for them.
So stop, listening right now, because we're going to stop talking, and say some Tehillim. It'll go a long way. Mirz Hashem. B'suras Tevais by all. V'chulu v'chulu. See ya.
Cult of.